One thing we don't have is animation. And actually, instead of using an attribute randomize, which gives us a random value for every primitive, we can do something a bit more complex than that. And we can use some noise. And obviously, if you've probably used some noise in Cinema 4D. And if we go back to our example over here, let's turn this guy off. We grab this guy over here. And if I go to my random effector, we can see we're actually using noise in here as well. And obviously, it's not noise as in sound, right? It's noise as in, something that's kind of shaken up or random. That's how I like to think about it. It's noise as in like you're shaking something up and it's creating kind of a chaos. And so basically, all it is it's randomizing attributes, right? That's all it's doing in C4D. But it's doing it based on kind of an algorithm, right? So we get noises to choose from. So let's start taking a look at that. So attribute noise is probably the best way to go about it, and the most simple. We'll be getting into how to do it a little bit more custom in the next lesson. But for now, we can just stick with this. So again, we're getting that color on our points. That's kind of the default here. We're going to change that to primitives, and instantly. It's actually giving us one value over here, and that's because we already had this set on our attribute randomize. If we turn that off, we get color again because we have a vector specified here. So I'm going to change that to a float, and now we're back to black and white. But you notice it's a lot softer, and that's actually because we're actually only adding to this. If we change it to set and we say 0 centered, we're going to get a lot more contrast in there. And that's because instead of saying, only above 0, if we do 0 centered, we're going to get values that are actually negative. So we're going to get a lot more contrast. I don't necessarily want values that are negative, but I also don't like how soft the positive one is. So actually what I'm going to do is change this to min and max, and we're going to say between 0 and 1 is correct. But let's take a look at our values here. Yeah, I'm sort of just scrolling through, and I can see none of them really go below 0.3. So there's tons of different options we can do, we can manipulate this with. Right here, we have this kind of size of our noise. And you can see as we get bigger, we get less contrast. And as we get smaller, we get more contrast, but we also get more chaos, kind of more randomness, essentially. And we're basically just scaling a texture is all we're doing with this one. So something around here seems fine to me, and we can choose our different types of noise over here, and that basically just going to change the look of our values over here. But we can also use this remap, and we can actually give this artificial contrast. So this is a ramp, or a spline ramp in C4D. You've probably seen this all the time with fields, right? If we hop over here, I don't think I have a field on this example, but if we look at our field and we say remapping, here's that exact same ramp function, right? And so I'm going to, just basically give this some contrast. Something like that. I just want a little bit darker values in there. Cool. And so the great thing about this is it has an animation tab, and all we have to do is click animate and click play in our timeline down here. I clicked this little clock icon on. If we hover over that, real-time toggle. So essentially it's just forcing the scene to play at whatever our frame rate is, just the same in Cinema 4D. So if we hit that, we have some, nice kind of evolving noise. And we can see it visually up here, but we can also see it in our geometry spreadsheet, right? We can see these numbers moving, which is excellent. And now if we pipe this into our extrude, here we go. Let's hit play. So pretty much what we have going on in Cinema 4D. Maybe there's even a bit more contrast in Cinema. So why don't we just tweak some values? We can animate a little bit quicker with pulse duration, and we can, why don't we just change this value? Yeah, there we go. That's kind of highlighting the contrast a bit more. And then in that case, we can probably turn that animation speed a little bit slower. And again, the great thing about this is we don't have to worry about switching anything out. All we have to do is plug in something at the top and everything lines up. So, if we search test geometry, there's basically some models you can use to test these kind of setups on. So the pig head, you might have seen if you've seen other Houdini tutorials. So if we pipe this guy in, really difficult to see him now. So let's reduce this. There we go. So yeah, completely procedural setup. So now I'm going to move on to showing a bit of an intro to what we're going to be talking about very in depth in the next class.